If we start out and ask, starting with Ben, what got you started in the first place? Why did you strike out on your own? You'd worked for a number of agencies. You held very senior positions in those agencies. What made you want to strike out on your own?
Well, the tipping point was that we reached the conclusion that I could do things better myself than continuing to work in those structures. The time was right, the conditions were right, and the contacts were right. And I reached a point where I could easily just sit down, take the money and carry on the way that things have been going. But I'd started to feel that the old advertising agency model was getting a bit tired, and that the company that I was at the time, those of you who are older in the room might remember, a company called Yellow M, was also being tired in its response to the way the world was changing. And we were seeing media fragment, we were seeing more and more specialist services starting to take shape. And we saw an opportunity to go away and put all those services together and combine them, both in terms of having them under one roof and also working more collaboratively with people from other disciplines and complementary disciplines. And fortunately I had like-minded people in Mark Martin, Chris Rickaby and Ian Millen to go and take that idea of what an agency should be like going forward into the noughties, and off we went into the sunset.
Excellent. We'll come back to whether it's panned out as you expected in a second. Rob, your experience is kind of different because again you worked within a number of agency and development environments. Yeah. But it was really the product that sparked your desire to go it alone and go off on your own. So again, tell us about that and about a little bit about how actually it spawned two businesses.
Yeah, I mean we worked in the web agencies in Newcastle for about 6 years, for a number of different agencies doing all kinds of things from your brochure sites to your more technical e-commerce platforms and bespoke software for people. And as we went through that, we kind of learned a lot about figuring out people's requirements and how you build things for them specifically. And we came up with a product that we wanted to develop called Tipstar, which was market intelligence for the sports betting industry. So unfortunately, being the sports betting industry, it required a lot of money and investment, and we couldn't do that alone when we were in our current jobs. So we had to leave our roles at the other agencies to set this up. In the process, we had to set up AO Media, which is a web development company in itself. But that was the only way we could find to actually fund the product that we wanted to build. Okay, and we'll come back to the tension between those in a few minutes. And Sam, you effectively kind of made your own, couldn't find anybody to work with, so you thought, I'll start my own business. Was that how it was?
Couldn't find anyone who would employ me, I think, was more how it was. Yeah, I'd done bits of work after university too. I wanted to work in film and TV, just because I wasn't really qualified to do anything. I did a degree in American Studies, so I'm good in a pub quiz, but that's about it, to be honest. And I worked for a couple of companies making sort of short films and TV ads and things, but they went out of business. And I just sort of, again, a bit like Ben, saw that there was, if you had digital, with the price of everything coming down with digital kit, and corporate films not really being addressed, we sort of thought, me and a guy called Casper, who I set it up with, saw that there was a gap there. If we owned our own digital kit and if we went after business, corporate business, nobody else seemed to be doing that, particularly in this region. So we decided to set it up, and we're fortunate in the next day we got a job, and that sort of funded it. So we didn't have to invest anything, but we had nothing to lose either, really. And it grew from there.
Have you managed to maintain the principles that you set the business up on, or have you felt compromised at any stage in the way you've had to take different directions or grow?
I think you definitely have to grow up, and you have to challenge and reevaluate the principles on which you set up. In our case, they still remain the same today. The principles of what we do are creative problem solving, taking calculated risks, and trying to have fun in the same way on the way through. And that's still the case, but that's not to deny that there's lots of challenging moments along the way, and perhaps the way that you do it gets fine-tuned, and you adjust and change with the times as well. We possibly, other things that you have to think about is also the rate that you want to grow if market conditions are great. One of the things that happened to us was, I just was talking to Sam before, and we started the businesses, when we started the businesses, we started with young families. Myself, Ian, Mark, and with the exception of Chris, all had young families. So it was very much a lifestyle choice as well as a business choice to set up the business and run it in a certain way. And we had a lot of opportunities in the early days because we had a reasonable reputation, a certain degree of notoriety, should we say, that some big opportunities came our way very early in our development. We were very fortunate because we were known in the marketplace. We got lots of front covers of lots of marketing magazines, regionally and nationally, and quite a few people came knocking on the door. But we took the viewpoint that some of those people that were knocking weren't the right fit for us, and it wasn't the right stage for us to take up those opportunities. We could have grown much quicker than we have done, but we took the view that we go for quality of life and quality of development over quantity, and hopefully that's been borne out. I think it's worked quite well.
And for you, Sam, I mean, you know, did you have a set? You know, this was your first stab at.
Did we have any principles?
Yeah, did you have any? Not did you have any principles? Sounds dreadful. Did you have a? I mean, you had a clear vision of what you could do that other people weren't doing, but. Other than that, were you prepared to kind of take anything on if it came through the door?
Yeah, and we did. I mean, we set up and said we're definitely non-broadcast, so we're not going to do anything for TV. And our second job was a documentary for Tyne Tees. So that was how strong we were to our principles. Because that's where the work came from. It just so happened that we were having a chat with Graham Thompson at Tyne Tees, and he said, you could do me a documentary on this. We went, brilliant. It's the next couple of months we can see. And so we did that, and Casper did the sort of marketing stuff, and then he moved on, which I think you want to talk about at some point, but you know, it was all about growing it in terms of people, working out the principles, working out what the work was we wanted to do, and like Ben says, eventually starting to turn down work, and that was quite a big turning point for us when we also went, you know what, we're focusing on corporate, and it was when we started to focus, which wasn't really till about the third year when Nick came in and joined, and we could really focus, because a lot of the time before that we knew the end point was there, but we were sort of going like that to get to it. And then we started to focus after a couple of years.
And in your situation, Rob, you know,
we have two sets of principles.
Yeah, you've got two sets of principles, but which one of them takes precedent?
I'd like to say Tipstar, but I'd probably be lying. The fact it's just that we come from a. I mean, my first job, second job in Newcastle was for Fusebox Design. It was a small web agency back then. It grew quite rapidly while I was there. So when we left there, it was a case of I'd got the experience of small business and how to run a business, then how it should work. So we sort of like took the two principles there and merged them into ours. And we made a conscious decision at the beginning that actually you can charge somebody £1,000 a day for web development if you can find someone willing to pay it. But that only buys one day. And we reduced our rates down to, say, £300 a day, where someone could actually buy 3 days of our time. And what we could actually produce was a product that was far superior to somebody else who was charging 3 times as much, because time is quality. So from the very start, we were able to put out Tipstar as a product to show people what we were capable of doing. And then actually, as we were building things, we were building more and more impressive products that we were able to show people again. And that helped us grow from there. So really, it's always been about quality for us. Tipstar, it's sports betting principles kind of go out the window a little bit, I guess. But no, it's Tipstar is about building something that's highly efficient, about something that's fast and quick and easy to use. So really, it's about fine-tuning a product that's exactly what someone's looking for and gives them what they're looking for. So it's not really customer principles that you're looking at as if you were working for another business, but an individual person you're targeting there.